Good morning, Shelley, and welcome to this week's podcast.
Hi, Donna. Thanks for having me.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. I keep saying thank you so much. I'm so excited to be able to talk about everything that you do or your passion. And we were talking about before we hopped on. Please explain to everybody your passion and your career, and the combo of being a naturopath and a nutritionist.
Yeah, so yes, I'm a naturopath and a nutritionist, and I guess so that was 2 degrees. I studied nutritional medicine first, and that's, I guess, where my practice lies predominantly. So I'm very much food focused, not to any kind of perfect state. I just think, though, if the diet isn't working for you, then the herbal side, which is the naturopathy side, or the supplements can kind of just be a Band-Aid fix, really.
Yeah, for sure.
And so that's kind of where why I use both of those degrees, and I guess how. And then, aside from being a nutritionist and naturopath, I'm also a mum to 3 toddlers. So I've got a 5-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 2.5-year-old.
Busy. That's what we were saying, isn't it?
Yes,
busy.
it is. Busy. It's just that's our life though these days. It is busy.
Yeah, it doesn't stop. So having the 3 teenagers, it doesn't stop. It changes in its dynamics, and you're continuously changing the way that you parent and look at things, but it's always busy. But it's lovely. It's busy, but they're such a cute age. It's a very cute age. Busy, but cute age.
Yeah.
So that is so interesting talking about. So being a nutritionist, like first, is that what you did first, your first degree?
Yeah. Yeah.
Was there a reason why you fell into that, or not fell into it, but did you have a love of food, or did something happen in your life where you felt like food was medicine? Or tell me about that journey.
For sure. I think most, I guess I'll say healers we come about because of our own journey. And so for me, it was when I was 24 was when I began studying, and that was when I call it my health storm, I guess, kind of took over. And, for me, I'd lived a healthy life growing up, what my parents knew. We were a meat and 3 veg kind of family.
Yes.
I was very active. And my parents did the best they could with our health. When I turned 18, I'm a country girl originally. And when I turned 18,
am I.
Are you? Where are you from?
Northern.
Oh, okay. No,
where
I
are you
didn't.
from? No, where are you? Where are you based again?
Yarrawonga, but I live in Melbourne.
Yeah, I'm in Wednesday. I'm in Western Australia. That's why.
That's why.
Country girls are very specific.
Yeah.
In a really good way. A very good way, yes.
I agree. But when I hit 18, I moved to Melbourne, and at the time I didn't really know what I wanted to do from a career point of view, and just having an active lifestyle, I decided to become a personal trainer. And I moved to Melbourne, and I really followed, I think, I would say a typical lifestyle, or a lifestyle many have followed at some point in their life. And that was Monday to Friday. I ate what I thought was healthy, and I trained really hard. And come the weekend, I just blew out. So I would be drinking alcohol. I'd be doing the Macca's run at 3 a.m. I'd be sleep deprived, and then I'd kind of just keep doing that cycle. And I did that from the age of 18 to 24. And if I really think back to that period, my body was giving me warning signs that I just chose to ignore. My digestion had not been great for a very long time. I was definitely starting to really feel the impacts of exhaustion, but I was just pushing through and just doing what I had to do. And loving the lifestyle at the time.
Yes, having fun.
When I was 24, I was at this point, I was working as a sales rep in the fitness industry, and I was heading back home to my parents' house in the country, and I rang my mum. I was about an hour and a half out of town, and I said, I don't think I can make it home. I feel so incredibly sick. I have to pull over. And I pulled over my car. Mum said, look, have a little nap, and if you need, Dad will come and get you.
Yeah.
And I had a nap, and I thought, no, I can get home. I got home to my parents' house. I went straight to bed. And the next morning, I remember ringing my parents on their landline from my bed and saying, I can't get out of bed. I need Dad to come get me. And it was like my health, I say it just declined rapidly. But again, if I had to listen to those.
There was little red flags.
Yeah, it wouldn't have. But my health really did decline from that point on. So my dad carried me out to the couch, where I stayed for basically the next 4 weeks. I was so incredibly weak within my body that I couldn't even walk myself to the toilet. Like I literally had to be carried.
Exhausted,
Yeah, I was in the country, you know, I was dealing with country doctors, and don't get me wrong, it was just resources are obviously limited. And I was in and out, and I got to the point where even that was exhausting me so much that it was all home visits. I was put on 24-hour watch, like care. So
Yeah.
my now husband, but new boyfriend at the time, had to come up back home as well to my parents, and between him, mum and dad, who were still working, they all rotated kind of shifts to look after me. I was keeping no food in. It was all either coming out through my bowel motions or vomiting. I dropped 10 kilos within a 4-week period, and I really didn't have that weight to lose. And eventually I got into a specialist in a different country town, 45 minutes away, and he diagnosed me with a autoimmune condition called Hashimotos, which is a disease of the thyroid. Most people, I would say, listening probably have either experienced some sort of thyroid disorder or know somebody who's experienced thyroid disorder or Hashimotos. However, back then, so this was 15 years ago.
Yeah. Did they even test it properly? Yeah, exactly.
And so basically I left the specialist appointment that day with a bag of pills, and I was told to take one of these every day for the rest of my life, and that would manage how I feel. And if we think about what the thyroid does, it manages not only our body temperature, it's our metabolism, it's our energy source. It really does manage a lot within our body. And being 24 and knowing the lifestyle that I'd lived, I just knew I had so much room for improvement in terms of what I did on a day-to-day basis and how I felt. And so although I believe in Western medicine, and I think there's a time and a place for medication, for me, I felt like I could take control, or at least try to take control from a dietary and lifestyle point of view. My now husband and I were heading off on a motorbike riding around the coastline of India only weeks after this, and I was obviously advised not to go. But I decided I would go, and, you know, we were on the bike. We had no time and place. We didn't need to be anywhere by a particular point. So
amazing. Remember those days? Yeah.
Right. I knew I could really just take it in my stride. And if we needed to stay somewhere for longer, we could, and all the rest of it. And while I was there, I really started to explore Ayurvedic medicine, which is traditional Indian medicine, where they use lots of really beautiful herbs and spices, and it's very gut healing, Ayurvedic medicine. So I started playing around with my diet. Whilst we were over there, we did a vegan diet, just purely because we didn't trust necessarily the quality of the meat.
Dog, what was that? What kind of meat's that? Yes.
Exactly right. And I started feeling really well. And so when I got home back to Australia, I started experimenting and using myself as a bit of a guinea pig. And I started diving into the research and really just, you know, playing with my diet. And I started feeling really well really quickly. And at this point, I still hadn't medicated. And I was on, when I got back to Australia, they were testing my thyroid very frequently, and they were going, oh my gosh, we're seeing the improvements. And I actually didn't tell them that I hadn't taken the medication for some time.
Really? Interesting.
They could see it going, getting better.
Yeah.
And they kept going, yep, the medication's working, the medication's working. And I just wanted the space to keep doing what I was doing without having their opinions. So that was when I saw the improvements with myself, and I decided I'm going to study this, so that not only from a personal experience can I help people, but I also have then the qualification.
Totally.
And so I went on to study food as medicine, which was so insightful, so fabulous. And then from there, I did the naturopathy just to further my studies.
Amazing.
That's kind of how I guess I fell into.
Yes, I love that story. I love it. Yeah. I love hearing the stories, for sure, because everybody that I do ask that question, it comes from a passion and a lived experience. And everything that you've just said has been my journey. And I'm like, keep saying I'm older, but you know, all of that stuff wasn't really available. And I'd spent nearly 20 odd years sick. And it was an autoimmune that they never picked up. And what has happened is exactly what you've explained. I just naturally have cut foods and played around with foods and eat so cleanly, and it's completely changed my body. Like, I used to get full on anaphylactic from foods, and allergy testing would never come up. And I'm like, what's happening with my body then? And they'd go, oh, it'll be a food. And I'm like, I've just spent $500. And really, it's just understanding your food, and your body can heal when you give it time to heal. And all of these autoimmunes, which are terrible, which are hereditary or genetic, passed on, you know, the lifestyle that we're leading, and it's not our fault, it's just the way that it is contributing to the increase in all of this, in everything that's happening, you know. And I think if I didn't do my own journey like you have, not wanting to give up, I'd be a very sick person still. And it's eliminating foods and eating foods that are healthy and taking the right vitamins, and from a naturopath and stuff. It was actually a naturopath that figured it out. And then I went to a genealogist, like in my late 30s, early 40s.
Yeah. And I think this is where, you know, two things on that is, one, I think we deal with our symptoms because we know no different, and it gets to the point where we don't remember how to feel well, and so we put up with them. And I think,
but it's not normal to be like that, is it?
Not normal.
And like you said, we can have the red flags. Again, it did through my 20s. Like when I left the country, my country town, that's what happened. So I was 18, vomiting, so meat and veg, which is hilarious, which actually probably kept our autoimmune at bay, because basic foods. Came to the city, started eating all these different stuff, and I was going to the doctors, vomiting, lost 10 kilos, diarrhea, nausea, still coping with life, drinking, having all that fun time, but really there was an underlying issue.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not normal.
No, and it often is the naturopaths who do, and it's a shame because we can't diagnose.
No.
And we also can't request a lot of blood pathology. We've got to go through other providers to do that through a GP.
Yeah.
And what I explain, you know, I'm not a GP basher at all. I believe in Western medicine, but it's, I guess, frustrating in our industry because GPs, they're general practitioners, right? That's what a GP is. So they know a little bit about a lot of things.
Right.
At the end of the day, it's general health. Whereas naturopaths, most of us specialize in a particular area, and that's where we dedicate the rest of our study. We have to continuously be studying to hold our degrees.
Totally.
And our studies are normally dedicated to that particular thing. So if you have a health concern, you can turn to a naturopath who specializes in that, and you most likely will get the results you want.
Yeah.
Although we can't diagnose, we'll still be able to point you in the right direction.
Totally.
Treat you to what we.
That's what they did. That's what this lady did. I reckon I was 42. So I'd been sick my whole life since I was 4 years old when they reintroduced dairy. Was the thing. Let's talk about dairy anyway. Yes, I love that story, and that's why you're so passionate and so amazing at what you do. And you know, I was looking at all the amazing foods and stuff that you make, which I'm like going to get into and ask you about this as well. So let's get started a bit more about sort of pregnancy, postpartum. There's a lot to talk about, but I do really also want to get into the children's nutrition in the fact of, you know, looking at your incredible, beautiful, yummy food for your children, and what I have found being a parent and then working again for my sleep in the sleep industry. I'm continuously researching, studying, and same thing, doctors don't know enough about sleep, and neither do even pediatricians. So, you know, when I go and do talks to pediatricians about sleep, so it's the same sort of thing like sleep, you know how important sleep is, sleep and nutrition. But with the kiddos, right, we can all, again, working with so many parents, we get so fearful of nutrition for our children. We're actually so fearful about everything that if we're doing the right thing for parents as our children, sorry. But kiddos, when they're little, will typically eat healthily to a degree, right? But when they get older, like toddler, above older, and then teens, and they refuse, what do you do?
Yeah, and this is the hard part because I think this is kind of, I guess, where I like to work from the pregnancy, postpartum,
totally,
into childhood.
Gotcha.
Because I just think if we're, you know, when in utero, so when in mum's womb,
sure,
if we've got our nutrition up right and our stores right and baby's able to take everything they need, that's a really good start to begin with.
Let's go back there then. Let's go back there.
Because I do want to talk
let's go back to totally. Sorry, I'm jumping there. So let's talk about that. Absolutely.
So
pregnancy,
Yeah. So I guess, you know, the main thing, I guess, to know when you're pregnant, because often we're told we're given a long list of foods that you can't eat.
Yes.
The problem with that is when we cut certain foods out, such as I have many clients who don't like hard-boiled eggs, so therefore they cut eggs out because you're not allowed to have a runny egg, or there's certain cheeses you can have, or what have you. What ends up happening is we're cutting out whole food groups, which are really nutritious for mum and baby. And one of the reasons that I focus so heavily on the pregnancy nutrition aspect is because when in utero, baby is storing certain nutrients for when earthside, right?
Right.
So if we think about iron, for example, which if mother's deficient in iron, very common during pregnancy, most likely baby's deficient.
Really?
Low iron in a baby can actually lead to poor sleep.
Oh gosh, yes. This is what I mean. Like, I've been a parent for 19 years and I've lived it. Like, I have lived it with nutrition and sickness and sleep. But this is what I'm finding. I'm often having to say, I'm really sorry, but I think your 10-month-old needs to get a blood test for iron. Because near on, when people work with me, it's 100% success rate, because I only do one-on-ones. It's very nurturing, supportive. It's looking at nutrition, everything. So when you've got a bubs that we've done everything possible and they're still waking like for an hour at night or really like fidgety and stuff, I'm like, And then I'm thinking, why are these babies having low iron? So you feel like it's definitely from the stores from mum.
Yeah, it starts with pregnancy. And
wow.
And we do the best we can. And obviously in pregnancy, we've got a lot to deal with. There's the morning sickness, food aversion, like constipation, you name it. But this is where finding the right supplements can really help. And I don't mean like an over-the-counter iron, because that's going to constipate you more and even make you vomit. But finding the right nutrients is important. And I guess, again, from a naturopathic point of view, I'm much more on top of your blood tests through pregnancy, as opposed to routine blood tests that you would do with an OB.
That's a great idea.
And that is just because your stores can plummet so quickly due to hemodilution and your baby storing for the first 6 months of its life is what baby's taking for when earthside.
Yeah, right.
I guess when we think about nutrition during pregnancy, we're looking at things like that. And then the iron as well, that iron picture for mum, low iron stores, we'll just keep rolling with that for now, can also play into postnatal anxiety and depression. And no matter whether it's your first or fourth, we never know what that postnatal picture is going to look like for you. And so it's just really about making sure you and bub are well nourished, so that once earthside, you and bub can both feel like, baby will thrive, but you know, you can thrive as well as a mother. So that's kind of that pregnancy picture, which leads into the postpartum. And then I guess, you know, the other one is a big one is vitamin D. Most Australians are low in vitamin D. Baby, while in utero, is storing iron for the first 12 weeks of its life. And if you're low in vitamin D, then often you're told you need to supplement your baby. Actually, most mums these days are told they need to supplement their baby with vitamin D once born. It's not necessarily if your stores have remained above 100 during pregnancy, especially the trimester. However, that's just kind of general guideline blanket advice that's given. So, yeah, I guess that's kind of what we're looking at in a really quick picture for that pregnancy. And that's to make sure you and baby are both.
So your basics, your D, your Bs, your iron stuff. And the other thing when we're talking about this stuff, when people are listening and mums are listening, because I speak to so many mums, this is not to cause anxiety. Like, you know, like what happens is we've got all of this amazing information and like this would be great and optimal. But like you said, sometimes you can't keep anything down. You know, sometimes you're not eating. So it's like, again, this is amazing advice, and you do the best you can with the advice given. You know, that's the biggest thing, is I think everyone gets so anxious that they can't do that, or their iron's low and their D's low and we can't take anything in, you know. So when they feel okay.
Yeah, and even if you had the best diet leading into your pregnancy, the most well-nourished stores leading into your pregnancy, and then you had a horrible, you know, first trimester, second trimester, even third trimester, or even if you had the most perfect pregnancy, naturally your stores are going to drop no matter what.
Sure.
So naturally your stores are going to drop. We can't change that, but we can try to support them as much as possible throughout pregnancy. And there's certain ways we can do that, if not through food, then definitely through good quality supplements. To make sure, you're both supported. Then I guess, if we then fast forward to around that 6-month stage, as you said, most babies will take food quite well initially. They might spit a bit out and have you, but they find their groove at some point. And you do hit that fussy stage at one point or another, if not multiple times. I guess it's really dependent on the kid, but I like to encourage parents from the time they start to introduce foods, especially once their child gets into the groove of eating solids. And then I guess they'll hit that age where they kind of know how to say no and yes now. It's very important to still be putting the food in front of them, even if they don't like it.
Yes.
So let me use my middle child, for example, does not like broccoli. It's not a full yuck, I hate this food. Otherwise, I wouldn't push that.
Yeah.
It's just, nah, I don't want to eat that.
Don't want it,
We used to, but now we don't. I still put it on his plate every day or every time it's served.
But don't force him to have it.
I don't force him to have it. There's actually a little plate beside him. And if there's anything that he's not wanting to try tonight on his plate, he gets to put it on the plate beside him.
Great idea.
He will always pick broccoli off and put it there, but it's still in front of him.
And you're like, just eat a little bit. Just eat a little bit.
I know, right? But you just kind of give them that freedom, I think, but you continuously encourage them throughout their whole journey.
Totally.
Even if they're saying no and it's not a real
aversion.
Disgust, then keep encouraging it, because now I'm seeing with my 5-year-old, broccoli is his favorite food, and he also went through this phase.
Totally.
So I know some parents will be thinking, I've done that and it still doesn't work.
Totally.
I mean, every child's really different, but I am just a really big believer. And the other thing is as well, I guess in air quotes, I kind of have strict food principles, let's say. So for example, a lot of parents get stuck in there, my kid didn't eat dinner, I don't want to send them to bed with a hungry tummy, so I'm just going to give them what they want and kind of cave.
That's a danger zone, isn't it? Slippery slope.
It really is. So my kids, for example, I'll always give them a banana before bed if they're still hungry, and the reason
that's what I suggest.
It's full of tryptophan, so it can really support their sleep. Or yogurt's another good one if it doesn't have all the sugar. But if my kids, I will leave their food sitting on the table. If they've walked away and haven't touched it, and then they're complaining to me, Mum, I'm still hungry. Say, that's great. You've got dinner. I don't want dinner. I will say to them, go and give me 3 mouthfuls. And if you're still hungry, you can have your banana.
Totally.
Because I'm still encouraging.
So simple, but effective.
It is. And I'm encouraging them to try their meal. And more often than not, they will sit there and actually start eating their whole meal. Because once they've tried it, they've realized it's not that bad.
Totally.
It's not the worst cook in the world.
Totally. Well, yes, exactly. That's what they say all the time. And the other thing is too, though, back in the day, my dad, again, it's another whole story, don't leave the table until you've eaten. You can't do that, because the thing is, and I've got 3 girls, you've got to be very careful what you do around food, but that's exactly right. You're not going, the thing is, we don't know how hungry they are or not hungry. Our different hunger cues are different every day. So why should we force them? Okay, as a family, sit and have a meal. Absolutely. But I think, give it a shot. Doesn't eat it. But that's, if they get hungry later, there it is. For sure.
Yeah, and I do that for most meals too. A lot of kids are kind of grazers. They might sit there and eat 1 big meal a day, but the rest of their meals might be grazing kind of meals. So
totally.
If they're in your care, just like they would at daycare or kindy, I really suggest following meal times. So for example, and this is nice for you as a mother as well, because you don't feel like you're just in the kitchen all day long, slaving to the kitchen and your children. For me, it's breakfast is made. Most of my kids will eat breakfast. Sometimes they'll ask for seconds, because that's their biggest meal of the day, as it is most kids. So that's the meal that I really like to pimp up. So if they've got a porridge, for example, I crack an egg in it and whisk the egg through as in for the extra protein. I add the hemp seeds, all the things into that meal. And they will eat that, most likely ask for seconds, normally not touch the second bowl, but it's there. I don't move it. If they say to me an hour later, Mum, I'm hungry, your breakfast is still there. Go and
heat it up.
And that's what they eat. And then, then I say to them, kitchen's closed until snack time or until
Love
lunch.
it.
Kitchen's closed.
Yeah,
Simple as
exactly.
that. And
Because
I just,
otherwise, especially when you're at home and if you're working from home and stuff, it's just constant eating. It's like they're actually bored. They actually don't need to eat all that time, like,
they're
and then they're
normally
not.
bored or
Yeah,
thirsty.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Same
And if
as
they've
same as
grazed,
adults.
right? And if they've
Mm.
grazed all day, then that's going to, of course, affect their mealtime at night, like their
Yeah,
dinner, you know?
totally,
So,
totally.
and I fell into that trap. It was a little while back where I realized I'm actually just in this kitchen giving them snacks and food all day long. And then it gets to dinner time and I wonder why they're not
That's
eating.
right, totally. So
And
we're the captains of the ship. This is the hardest thing, as this
yeah,
is what I talk about all the time, is like it doesn't feel like we're always the captains, but we as adults and parents around sleep, nutrition, food, whatever, particularly when you get up to 11 or 12, we have a really great opportunity to lead by example, not force, but have these really solid boundaries, but that they can move within. Not you have to do this, you're not leaving the table, eat that broccoli, otherwise you're not eating. No, none of that. But you've got very clear boundaries there, which I love. And this is the whole conscious parenting stuff that I'm also certified in as well. Is it's not permissive. It's not, oh, okay then. It's like kitchen's closed. Here's your brekkie. Here's your second. You want this. This is what you have. That's it. And then that is they love those boundaries. They don't know that there's a whole lot of a world out there of a whole lot of crap food yet.
yeah,
Whereas when we get, I know this is a whole another level, but past 12, 13, when they're in high school and catching buses, and I might be at work from a client and we've got the shop across the road, I can't manage that. I had to really surrender to the fact that I eat really healthy. I provide healthy food at home. Sometimes teenage girls don't even have breakfast.
yeah.
That kills me, like in the heart. And do you want some kiwi fruit? Do you want some? No, no. I'm like, so again, the transition of different ages is lead by example, have it at home. My biggest thing is, and I keep coming back to this is no way making mums feel anxious, because I have it all the time with 4 or 5-year-old mums that are literally driving themselves insane because the child's like, nope, not eating. And I'm like, okay, he will eat when he's hungry, and just keep providing. And then that's what I say when we're doing sleep: yogurt, sugar-free yogurt, or low sugar yogurt, banana. And then they're like, well, they won't eat their dinner. I'm like, yeah, but banana's like not like ice cream, but it's got all the great vitamins and minerals for sleep. And it ends up that they end up having their dinner and they end up having half a banana.
That's it. I think as well, I'm a fan of bribery, to be honest.
I love it too. Someone used it. No, sorry. Someone used another word other than bribery, because everyone says that's not a good word. It's an incentive.
Yeah, right.
Don't we all work for incentives? And someone only told me that last month, because I go, oh, I love a bribe. Oh no, I can't say bribery, can I? And they went, it's an incentive. I'm like, oh my gosh.
I'm going to use that because
incentive.
I'm all for it. I think as well, the other thing is, like, by saying to a child, you know what, go and try that dinner, just 1 to 2 bites, letting them try it, see what progresses from there. Then you have this. And don't forget, like, if you want to offer them ice cream, just freeze some bananas and whiz them up.
Totally.
Like, there's other things that we can do.
So many, which is all on your page. And see, this is the thing, is like, my kids being 19, 17 and 13, none of this existed. Right. No. And there's 2 parts of this, and I know that you'd probably feel the same. Knowledge is power. I love internet. I love Instagram. I love meeting people like yourself and like so passionate, so much worthy stuff. But it also then can cause that anxiety or stress, like, oh, I'm not doing hemp seeds and I'm not doing that. And like I said, these conversations not to make anyone feel bad. It's like trying to implement, like follow you and see where they can implement, because watching your page, you make it look really easy. It's not like really complicated. It's like I do this and then I do that and I freeze that, and it's not overcomplicated. And
it's not. And I guess I have a lot of tantrums in the middle of that,
totally,
like shiny, ball. There is, like, my kids will, and this is, I guess, where my anxiety most comes up, because I'm a nutritionist. I know what to feed them.
Totally.
It still doesn't mean that, like, the tantrum. So by saying kitchen closed, like, I get a tantrum every time by at least one child. And that in itself, I have to brace myself when saying those words. Here we go.
Yes. That's your boundary. So that's your boundary. And this is what we talk about with conscious parenting, where a lot of parents are becoming a little bit too permissive because they're worried about the tantrum, because tantrums suck. I still have them as teenagers, and they're way worse way harder because they swear at you, right?
Oh, mine do that already. Mine are.
Oh, you're already
Or swear at me. I'm hoping.
oh, toddlers, teens, same thing, but it's being that strong parent with no, this is the boundary. And you've got lots of beautiful softness in the middle, but the boundary's there,
Yeah, and that's it. And it is really, really hard. And I think the other thing, and this is, it just reminded me when you were talking about your teenagers and obviously losing that control. I guess the only time I really experience at the moment is when we're at the birthday party, for example.
And you're like,
oh, my kids look like they've never been fed.
Yes.
And so there's lots of conversations now, and this is it. Like, we lead by example. We provide what we know is the best food for them, and I think the other thing is having conversations about the food that you're eating. So when we're sitting at the dinner table, we're often having conversations about, like, and my 5-year-old now does it to my 4-year-old when he's not eating his broccoli, but my 5-year-old he'll go, yeah, but I eat my broccoli because it makes me feel like this.
So good.
And so it's about having those conversations
Totally.
While they're young.
Oh,
so that when they're tuning into their body and what it's telling you.
Because I've been through everything that I've been through lived experience. For us, dairy and gluten, all of that, clear symptoms, extreme fatigue, headaches, whatever, all of this stuff. And I've got the answers. Right now, the oldest is getting there because she's been so sick and has to eliminate. But it's like why I love getting people like yourself, experts in the field, of younger kiddos. If we can spend those 11, 12 years leading by example, having the conversations, you're going to have much of an easier time, I think, when they're older. But doesn't mean that, someone like your beautiful self, teenager, goes to McDonald's every time they possibly can when mummy's not looking. It's going to happen. Like, and that, or maybe not, I don't know, but like, we need to also surrender to the teenage years of that as well. But there was one other really good question about that. No, now it's gone.
I think
go.
Yeah,
go. No, what I was going to say about my sort of lived experiences, my dad was very much like, we could never have anything at all, right? And he'd stay at the table, eat your food, whatever, no lollies, no whatever. He had full control, and that was very unhealthy. But he's a different type of kettle of fish. But so what you're doing is you're walking with them and you're explaining, try that, where my dad's like, nope, you can't have that, found lollies, would throw them out, like, that sort of thing. So when I left home, oh my God, I think I stopped at the first petrol station, shoved my mouth full of Chico roll or something, Exactly. But you're doing the best. You are walking beside them and having adult conversations.
Yeah, and it's that 80-20 approach, right?
Yeah.
And so when they're in my house, I do the best I can with their nutrition.
Yep.
And when they go to birthdays and things, like, honestly, I just sit back and let them go.
That's
then
so good.
Afterwards, and the next day, we're having conversations. A lot of their conversations are around their poo. So they'll go to a poo and go, Mummy, that didn't feel that healthy. Yeah. And I'll go, okay, let's have a think about what we did yesterday. Well, they ate lots of sugar. We're going away this weekend to Nana's house, my husband's mum's house. And my eldest is already talking about, well, Nana gives us lots of sugar. She gives me lots of ice cream, my teeth very, like, he's already having those conversations.
So interesting, isn't it? So good.
He'll eat it all.
Totally.
But
he's having the conversations.
Very conscious of what's happening within his body.
Oh, it's hallelujah.
So I think you have to just let them go. And that when they get to their teenage years, they're going to do what they're going to do. I kind of watched it with my auntie growing up. Was very strict on her children. And I remember when they got to they were a bit younger than me, the kids, my cousins. But when they got to an age where they could go out, and I remember one of them, was eating everything inside and starting to put on weight. And then, of course, that became a bit of an issue with her mum. And it was kind of just like this vicious kind of cycle.
Yeah. It's the extremes, isn't it? So say, for example, you're a mum, again, there's no judgment on this, but, someone who's very aware of nutrition like yourself, but then, and I've seen it at parties, the mother will not let the child have any sort of bad food at the party. That's kind of what my dad did. That's not healthy either, So you're like that in between, which the 80-20, which is amazing.
Yeah. And, at home, my kids still get like the treats and things like that.
Totally.
Healthier. And I guess as well, the other part of my motherhood journey, particularly in the last year, is we had a lot of behavioural issues in my household with my my sons,
Yeah.
to the point where we got kicked out of kindergarten.
Oh.
Yeah, so we've really had to rein things in with their diet. And again, that was me going down the rabbit hole of, okay, my son's off to school next year. I really don't want to see him struggling. And at the moment, his behavior is a disservice to him because he's not that child, and I truly believe that. However, he's being defined by his air quotes bad behavior his whole life.
Yeah.
So I went down this rabbit hole and we went to an additive.
But is it bad behavior? This is the thing is that really upsets me is because they're not bad, right?
He's not bad.
And the thing is he's a boy and they don't want to go to school. They don't want to sit down. They want to just explore and stuff. So they're labeled. They're just labeled. And it makes me really upset. And it's not his fault.
No, it really isn't. And I think, and my husband and I could always see that. And I guess having kids together close too, like a lot of children, and I don't want to say a lot, but often there's like a 2 to 3 year age gap between children. So by the time you've got a 3-year-old, you might be having a newborn. The 3-year-old's kind of got a few more boundaries. Like my eldest was 16 months when his brother was
teensy.
Wasn't even 3 by the time his second sibling came. So he was still exploring boundaries at that point too. And it was probably when he hit 2 and was really exploring boundaries, but he had a little brother to take it out on. Whereas
totally. And then you're busy.
Yeah,
not your fault, but
kid.
Totally. And all of that's normal behavior. Pushing boundaries is normal behavior. Yeah,
for sure. And so anyway, so we had this experience at kindy, and to be honest, it was just really poor. It was poorly managed on their end. So they didn't ask my husband and I to come into a meeting because it was urgent or anything, and they just basically expelled my child without any warning. We got home from Bali and the next day come into kindy. We think your parenting methods are not aligned with ours and you don't care about your child, so he's not coming back. No joke. And like I was gutted because anybody who knows me knows.
That gives me goosebumps in a really bad way.
Yeah, it was really awful. And
that would have killed you.
It did, because I mean, like, and I have always tried to support him, and it ended up being there was this one educator who just simply didn't want him there. He was obviously too hard. She hadn't passed on the OT reports and all the things that I'd sent, like the parent who doesn't care over here. Like he's literally, like, we did everything by the books. But anyway, it ended up being a blessing in disguise. I took my son to therapy the next day, which I'd never done hypnotherapy before, but I was desperate. And I thought, I don't know what this place has done to my child.
Totally.
But that reaction from them was very big and I didn't want it to impact him. So I essentially wanted to, in my desperation, I was like, I need to wipe the last 6 months.
Clear it out. And like you said, what did they do underlyingly? How did they make him feel? I'm sure, like you said, they just couldn't handle his behavior. Whatever. I mean, it's.
Yeah, I think he was just put in the too hard basket, right? It's like, and so, and when I went and did this hypnotherapy, actually, it was interesting because it's a bit woo-woo, but they kind of work through me.
I love woo. Love it. Yes, I love it. It's life-changing.
It is. And I was like in his body in kinder room, and my own personal heart was racing so hard. It was uncomfortable for me as an adult, and I was stimulated by the kinder room. I could feel it all, and I was like, this is what my child's been feeling for
every day. It's amazing he even wanted to go to school.
It is. Anyway, So after that, we kind of went down this path of what do we do? How do we support him? We went down the Western path of let's go through the child psychologist, see if there is some diagnosis, although like neurodiversion diagnoses normally don't come out until year 1 or 2 at school, but we decided to trail that path anyway so that we knew. Sure enough, nothing there yet at the moment. And then I went obviously through the diet and supplementation and really started to dive into the behavioral problem and the link between additives within our food. Now, being a nutritionist, I thought we had a pretty clean diet.
Yeah, I was going to say.
No, additives are in everything from your canned beans to literally everything you eat. It was pretty wild adjustment, to be honest, and it's taken me a good few months to fully be additive free. And now We've probably been additive free for 3 to 4 months, and I'm just starting to pull the reins a little bit on it to see, because I don't believe in doing everything 100% all the time.
I know. It's hard to maintain, isn't it?
Find your balance. Like, and
did you see a improvement with his behavior?
Within 7 days, both my
Stop it. So then someone who's a nutritionist, who's very aware since 24 onwards, very, very aware, what would be your biggest red flags in a healthy house like you? Or like, what do you think needed to be taken out? Can you sort of pinpoint or not really?
Yeah, so I've actually got it written down, and I'm going to grab it, because there's if you are having troubles with behavior in
a lot of children. So this is why I've got into the conscious parenting as well, because what I'm finding is with the sleep's really important for behavior, 100%. But then and that I see dramatic changes, but kiddos are the behavior issues are huge. So
and that's just that stimulation, like between, there's numerous elements that, and my kids still aren't perfect, but I definitely noticed a difference in their temperaments. I mean, they still bash each other, fight.
Totally. That's normal.
But it was
that's happened forever. So it's just the other added stuff like, not being able to,
This is where I think for the first time I actually saw my kids just being normal sibling fighting, wrestling, as opposed to aggressive behavior towards each other.
Yes. Like, stop, you're going to hurt each other. Okay.
So when we're looking at the behavior, and when we're looking, and when we think about additives, essentially that is your numbers on the back of the packet. And it is literally in everything we eat.
Is it?
So, it's like, I was shocked. So it's the numbers on the back of the packet.
Yes.
Or if you're really not sure of what an ingredient is, it's most likely an additive. But the key ones, the ones that have the most research around behavioral issues, are number 322.
Yep. And what are they commonly in? Can you say or not?
No, I
everything.
can't.
Okay, all right. Okay, I'll look into that.
Because I just kind of went cold.
There's too many. All right. Okay.
322. Just look out for 322. The word thickener, and in brackets, pectin.
Pectin.
Pectin, Pectin.
Oh, pectin. Okay, yeah.
Or thickener 440.
All right. I'm onto it.
So the approach we took in our family is, this was me out of desperation. I'm going completely additive free. We went additive free. Like, it is in your ham, it's in some cheese, crackers, it's in bread, it's in tinned goods, it's in everything. And we were already, like, I got a bit stricter on the sugar. But then I guess the next thing that I did, and this is, so I got strict on it all, noticed the difference. And then the next thing I thought, right, this is hard to maintain. And I still didn't pull them up at birthday parties and things like that. But I was like, we need to find a happy balance where if we are out or away on a weekend, I don't need to do a Coles order before we get there just to be additive free. Like, that's totally to me.
It's a lot of work on you. I know you're doing amazing, but that's a lot of
work. And so this is where now the main things that I'm looking for are the 3220, 322, 440, or the thickeners. And they're pretty much out of our products. The great thing is there's many alternatives at the supermarket as well. You just got to look. It doesn't mean you've got to be making everything from scratch, although I did at the beginning. I've found lots of healthy alternatives, and it's all on my Instagram.
I know. I know. It's so amazing.
Jump on there and
see. My goodness. Okay. We could speak forever. I don't even know how long we've spoken for, but thank you so much. I mean, like I said, so many things to talk about. I will put everything in a link in bio and everything. The one thing that I did want to talk to you about is you do have, is it a program, or it's called Nourishing Your Bump? Can you sort of quickly run through that? What people get in that, obviously when they're pregnant, I'd say.
Well, there's two actually. There's Nourishing Your Bump and Nourishing Your Bub. So
that's a good idea. I didn't see that one. Okay. Great. Awesome.
So that's your pregnancy program. Essentially, it just takes you through your preconception, trimester 1, 2, and then your postpartum. And it's really focused on the mother. It's focusing on what supplements, what your diet should look like. You've got access to me within there, and there's a whole community within there. And then Nourishing Your Bub is very specific towards your baby once born. So it goes, it's broken down into 0 to 6 months, 6 months to 12 months, and then toddler beyond. And in that is where we talk all about, your allergies, breastfeeding,
Yeah.
all of that at the beginning. It goes through all your food solids, how to navigate all of your
Awesome.
allergens and things. And then it
Right.
goes through the toddler, fussy, there is a sleep component of like what nutrients to be looking at.
Totally. We didn't even get to that, did we?
Oh,
We didn't even get to, we didn't
literally-
even get to that. There's so many things. So with that, just quickly, sorry, just that is a really important thing because I'm a specialist in sleep. What would be, I don't know how to ask this question. Yeah, what would you feel like there might be lacking? So if someone like myself, if I've got a bubs that we're doing everything we possibly can to nurture them to self-settle, and we're still getting those wakings where it's not making any sense, what would be the sort of supplements or foods and things you think that we need to look at?
Yeah, for sure. So iron is the absolute biggest. And to be honest, I don't really test iron in kids via a blood test unless absolutely essential.
I know.
Go straight to a supplement, to be honest, because it can't hurt most
Oh,
children.
and so what sort of supplement for a little one would you go to?
Yep. So depending on their age, there's a few good ones. Brower's got a nice iron supplement. You can just get that at the pharmacy and obviously just follow the directions on the back of the label. And the other one that I really like for toddlers is Iron Nutrients, which is called Iron Immunity. And that's a really nice iron supplement for your child. So normally the way I use iron supplements with a child is because I'm not necessarily testing, what I say to parents is, supplement with the iron. If you see improvements in your sleep, continue it for another couple of weeks, pull the iron back. And then if ever you go through another rocky patch where you're starting to notice wakeful periods, you bring the supplement back in. Or if, your child's going through a fussy period and all of a sudden they're not eating much meat and things like that. I think when it comes to iron, toddlers need more, or babies, children need more iron than a male adult. Now, a male adult to hit his iron is sitting down to a steak 3 or 4 times.
What? I know. They'd have one a day if they could.
Right? Toddlers are not going to be, even if they're the best eater, which is, my kids are, I'm very lucky to have quite good eaters who will eat red meat throughout the week, but they're still not getting there. So I still supplement kids very sporadically with iron, but definitely around the wake-in. And you just need to make sure it's not with calcium, which is your dairy products. A lot of kids are eating cheese, yogurts, milks. So that is going to inhibit some of the absorption of the iron. So you want to keep that separate and away from zinc as well if they're on any zinc supplement.
Now with the brewers, is that for bubs onwards or not?
I believe it is from maybe 6 months or a year. Any earlier than that, what I say is just really focusing in, because you do have a lot of control in your child.
Or it could be formula or, that's right.
Yeah, so formula fed are going to be hitting their iron needs, unless, of course, it's the cow's milk. That's going to inhibit about 50% of that iron, but they're still probably going to be getting more iron than a breastfed baby.
Yeah.
But once the solid, because they've stored enough through pregnancy, and this is the thing, right? I always say to my pregnant clients, Mother Nature is always going to prioritize your baby. So your baby's going to get everything it needs during pregnancy. So even if your iron stores are low, you can ensure your baby's getting enough iron. It's you who ends up depleting.
Totally, yeah.
So for the first 6 months, baby's already stored the iron that it needs whilst in utero. From 6 months onwards, what I say, and I do have a guide on my website for introducing solids, and it's very much focusing on iron-rich food. So I love putting in beef liver, just making sure if you're preparing the liver itself, that it's an organic from a good source, because remember, our liver is our filtration system, so we really don't want to be getting any poor quality. The easiest way to get your liver into your child is through some of the supplementations, like the powdered forms. 2 brands I recommend are Ancestral Nutrients or Cell Squared. And just a sprinkle is all your child needs. You can also bring in spirulina if your child is, if you're raising a plant-based child, for the iron. But yeah, that's kind of how I focus on the iron in younger children, like that to 1 year.
Yeah. So it's essentially hiding some things, because they're not going to want to have a bit of liver, are they? So
really easy to hide. So smoothies, I chuck beef liver in. Yogurt, I mix it through. Coconut yogurt and spirulina is actually a beautiful combination. Most kids love it, including babies. If you're making gut gummies, which are on my
I
website.
saw that. I love that. I'm
Yeah.
going to make that for my teenagers. I was thinking, it's so funny because I was looking at all your amazing stuff and I'm like, oh, I could do that for the teens. Because I still want to, and they're, you know what the sad thing is that they're so exhausted. Well, the eldest is now figuring it out, so eating better. But the 17-year-old, such low B12 and iron. So she's had to get the injections. And I'm like, babe, you just need to eat these foods. But it's like a defiant toddler. What I've got now is like, nope, not doing it. So I need
the powders can be really good as well. Your beef liver is also, it's kind of like a multivitamin for anyone, because it's got all your iron cofactors, which is what we need to absorb the iron. So it's got your B12, your vitamin D, your vitamin
everything in there.
Powder. So if you're having like a saucy dish, any kind of saucy dish, you just put it in and add extra to your teenager or your child.
Or just like a spag bog.
Add it in. And if you
add
it to your family meal, just add extra to their meal. They won't even know.
Oh, you're an angel. You're an angel. You've made me feel better already. Because she's got aversion to needles and stuff, so she won't have the iron infusion, which again, it's been years of her being unwell. Like her stores, and it's really low, like 7.
Yeah,
like it's so bad. But she refuses to do that because she has an aversion. And I'm like, oh, so that's what I'm going to do. Okay.
And even the iron nutrient, even though they're kind of more for like toddlers, but they're chewables. So even if she'll just have those chewables and a couple more, like protein.
All right, I'm going to go to the health food store and get all of those. Now, one other thing, just in regards to sleep and stuff, magnesium. Is that like a magic? It's true. It's like really needed. And what do you think about sprays and stuff like that? Like,
yep. So magnesium, I absolutely love, especially for you as the mother parent. So I basically have most of my parents on a magnesium just to support their own sleep, to be honest. From a sleep maintenance and onset, meaning it helps us go to sleep and stay asleep. It is so beneficial. But I think as well for toddlers, yes. And there's obviously the 2 forms. So my toddlers, I will sometimes get on an oral supplement if they're really struggling, but not always. So if you're struggling, the best way that I like to start with the magnesium is in your bath. So I like to turn bath time into water play if you can. So I literally sit my kids up in a magnesium flake bath with frozen fruit and I let them like eat.
Oh, that's fun.
It turns into like, because you need it, the toddler or the child needs to be in it for at least 20 minutes.
Okay.
Right, so you want them to have a big soak in that. So magnesium baths are my favorite, couple of times a week. Absolutely. You can use the sprays and things. That's obviously coming through the bloodstream. So different way of absorption. Really effective if your child's got restless legs or if you notice thrash about a lot, you can try it to see if it helps. But yeah, oral supplementation I do use, but I guess I'm just a little bit more hesitant with it because there's not really a good child specific supplement on the market. I'm using adult supplements that are very
for kids. Okay. And then just quickly, what's a good magnesium source in food?
So magnesium, it's all of your green leafies, which a lot of kids aren't getting. Bananas, you will get some from, things like lentils and stuff. So again, even if you're doing like a spag bowl, this is effective as well. And most kids won't notice the difference. You can do your 500 grams mince, for example, and you can do a tin of lentils, drain, wash. It'll make enough for 2 different meals. So you can put half of that in the freezer for the next week. And, things like your lentils are really going to be beneficial for not only their gut, but also for things like magnesium.
Any type of lentils, because there's quite a different type. Doesn't really matter.
Doesn't really matter. Just, as long as they're washed and cooked, cooked, drained, washed. Whatever you can get in. But like if you were doing it with the spag bowl, the lentil you would use are like the little brown lentils because they literally just look like mince.
Okay. Yeah. Got to trick these kids, don't we? Well, these teenage kids anyway. Thank you so much. I am really hoping that we can do part 2 on this because there's so much more to talk about. But thank you so much for joining us today. I've really enjoyed our conversation. And everyone needs to follow you, look at all your amazing stuff. And I'll put all, like I said, all the links in the bio.
Awesome. Thanks, Donna.
No worries. See you later.